What is going on, everybody, in Wrestling Review Society's Facebook page, YouTube page, Real Pro Wrestling, and of course, the brand new Twitch channel, twitch.tv/HillKevin. Guys, we are on the way to become Twitch affiliates. So I appreciate everybody who's tuning in on the Twitch channel or wherever you guys happen to be watching. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that thumbs up button. It really goes a long way in helping us with the algorithm and getting our wrestling content put out there for the masses to see and enjoy. Guys, we have a very inspirational podcast set aside for you guys tonight. Me and this gentleman have been talking about making this happen for a very long time. Finally, schedules have cleared up. We're on the same page. He's here tonight, and he's willing to tell everything. So you're not going to want to go anywhere. And we also have a few surprises lined up throughout the course of the podcast. But before I get into my guest, I just want to take a chance to plug our amazing sponsors. First of which, guys, being the Coldest Water. Guys, these people make the best water bottles I've ever had in my entire life. Scrolling at the bottom of the screen throughout the entire episode. thecoldestwater.com/thecoldest60 giveaway. Guys, 15 lucky people are going to win an absolutely free bottle. All you have to do is go register at the Coldest60 giveaway. And if you want to get your hands on any of their other products, make sure you use promo code WRESTLING to save 10% at checkout. Also, guys, storefrontier.com/Wrestling Review Society for all of our amazing merch, like the WRS Club hoodie that I'm wearing. Whether you want a hoodie, t-shirt, long sleeve, short sleeve, face mask, it doesn't matter. And guys, I've been talking about this for the past week or so now. You are now tuned in to the 2-time award-winning podcast for Podcast of the Year and Interview of the Year. So thank you to everybody who voted for me and made that possible. Guys, with that being said, I'm going to bring on my guest at this time. Guys, I already see your comments. Everybody is excited. Everybody's watching on Twitch, YouTube. Thank you guys so much. But without further ado, this show isn't about me. It's about my guest, and what an amazing story this is going to be. So buckle your seatbelts, get you something to drink, and ladies and gentlemen, welcome my guest at this time, Mr. Sean Hawley.
Sean, what's up, doing, man? Doing great, man. You know, like you said, we've been butting schedules, and finally we got it to finally work out. So
I think I've seen you at a total of about 6 shows, and every time we run into each other, hey, man, I got to get you on the show. Hey, man, I got to be on the show, and we finally made it happen. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad we were able to make it happen, and I'm really looking forward to this one, man.
Yeah, definitely, man. Like you said, there's been multiple occasions where we're like, hey, man, like, I want to get on the show. Like, when can I get on the show and everything else like that? And it's like we always had a problem with scheduling, and finally we got it to happen. So, hey, good things happen for a reason, right?
Absolutely. It's the right time, right place. You know, first of which, let's just set the mood off right, because you owe my friend David Sanderson an apology. I don't know if you remember or not, but at one of the last ARW shows, you were a complete dick, grabbed his sign and ripped it in half. He worked really hard on that. He asked me to get an apology, and we're going to get it right now.
Are you talking about the sign that said "You suck" when I was coming around coming out the entranceway?
I am talking about the sign that said "You suck."
Oh, so no, I'm definitely not going to give him an apology. I'm doing my job as a heel wrestler. I'm doing my job. Like he let me see the sign. That was his mistake. So it's his fault.
David, I tried. He's
not getting an apology.
It doesn't seem like it's going to work, but hey, I tried.
I'll do it this way. As a personal side of me, I do apologize. I appreciate you bringing out the signs. We always encourage signs and everything else like that. But as a heel side of me, you can go after yourself.
You always got to have that one. That's what I love about your style. And it's from your promo ability to your wrestling. And you showed it right there more than anything. You know, whenever you're in the ring or you're on the microphone, you always got to get that last jab in there to where you think you're giving them what they want, and then you just snatch it right from them. So I guess that's going to segue right into the first couple of questions I have for you. Right. When did you develop this love for pro wrestling? What got you started into pro wrestling, or was it just always a thing for you?
So it's always been a thing for me. And only Zach knows this story. And it's crazy. So technically I was a wrestling fan since I was in the womb. My name actually came from Shawn Michaels. My name was actually supposed to be Shawn Michaels Hawley, to be honest with you. But my dad was not for it and everything else like that. And they finally switched it to Sean as the Irish way of saying John. So pretty much as long as I can remember, I've been a huge fan of wrestling, even growing up in diapers. about 5 or 6 years old, me and my dad would always wrestle on the bed. Like I would RKO him and he'd give me like a choke slam and everything else like that. And there was a time, and I guess this is what got me into hardcore style wrestling too, is there was a time he actually choke slammed me through an ironing board by his bedside. And from there, it just blossomed into like wanting to do crazy stuff. And then like I would be jumping off stuff and, not giving a rat's ass about what's going on. So, that's probably what got me into the hardcore style of everything. And but yeah, wrestling's been part of me for I don't even know how long. Like I can't even remember.
I've seen some of the stuff you do, and for you to say that it started with your dad and an ironing board, I would have never guessed that story. That's absolutely phenomenal. I do want to address this comment. Absolutely huge thank you to Heel Turn Wrestling. I support everybody who allows me to stream. That's why all of your links are provided in the description of each and every video. So yes, thank you Heel Turn Wrestling for allowing us to broadcast on your platform. Definitely huge thank you. But so at what age did you decide that this is what you were going to pursue? Because we don't always just, there's as kids growing up, there's always, okay, I either want to do this, or this. When did it become solely about wrestling for you?
Around middle school, to be honest. Like I've had a thing for wrestling. Like I wanted to be a wrestler and everything else like that. But obviously, when you're training, you got to be 18 or older and everything else like that. So it's just like, unfortunately, you can't find somewhere to train. And where I was located, like I didn't have a way of getting to training school and stuff like that. So I actually joined a wrestling club at my middle school. So I started doing like amateur type wrestling and everything else like that. Did it in high school for maybe my freshman year. And then I went to football after that. But then once I found out there was a school in Orlando that I could train at, then I finally jumped into the pro wrestling and finally actually achieved to do what I wanted.
So who were some of the people that you looked up to, getting into wrestling? Who were some of the wrestlers that really stood out to you that you, I'm not going to say wanted to copy, but ones that you were inspired by, ones that you wanted to emulate?
Guys like Shawn Michaels, obviously, like that's pretty much where I came from with Shawn Michaels. Guys like Edge, Christian, a little bit of Bret Hart, Randy Orton when I was about my teenagers, when he started doing an evolution, and I decided, bad guys are the way to go. So I started falling in for the heels and everything else like that. So Orton and Edge definitely led the way to start it off as being a bad guy and everything else for me. And ever since then, those four guys were definitely my main go-to wanting to follow as a wrestling.
You bring up Edge, and I was going to do this in the beginning, completely forgot about it. But when we were talking, setting up this show, I heard in the background you were watching the Rumble. So I have to ask this question.
Okay.
And this is for everybody in the comment section. Is this an elimination?
That is guaranteed an elimination. So me and Zach were actually talking about this in the our private chat and everything else like that. And I said,
a hot topic amongst all wrestling fans for the last couple of days.
I was just like, those feet are on the ground, and I was just like, because I was voting for Rhea Ripley, for the whole, well, not for the whole thing. I started off wanting like Alexa Bliss to win, and Rhea Ripley came in, and then once Dakota Kai came in, I was just like, hopefully Dakota Kai wins it, but I knew it wasn't going to happen. But when it came down to Rhea Ripley and Charlotte, I was just like, oh God, here we go. We're going to start with the Charlotte Flair thing again. I'm like, please don't let Charlotte Flair win consecutive years. I'm like, I'm tired of hearing this whole thing. Like, she's like the next thing of her father. I'm like, let the whole feud with her and Lacey Evans keep going. Don't make her go into WrestleMania and win a championship again. So Bianca Belair should have been eliminated. Rhea Ripley should have won.
I've said the same thing. My picks were Rhea and Edge, and that picture's been circulating so much. I had to get your opinion on it. But let's get back into you, man, and your journey into pro wrestling, because I've advertised this throughout the week as we schedule this interview. You have a very inspirational story, and we're going to save that for just a little bit because I have a special guest who wants to come on and kind of talk to you about it. We got my good friend Heel Josh is watching. This is my role model when it comes to Twitch. He would have marked out if you said, or when you said Shawn Michaels, but Shawn Michaels was Mr. Sean Hawley's favorite too, Josh. So that's a shout out for you, my man. But so to this point, how long have you been involved in professional wrestling?
I've been involved in pro wrestling for 5 years now. Been doing shows for 4. Um, so I started training about 5 years ago, and was training for an entire year and everything else like that. And then I was told by the coach I was being trained by that I was ready to go. So I was able to take bookings. So with that being said, Alex Red, part of Atomic Revolutionary Wrestling, gave me my first opportunity. And at the first ever ARW show, which used to be called AWE, I was given my first opportunity in a battle royal, which I lost because I marked out acting like AJ Styles.
Hold on a minute. Hold on. Let's break down what you just said. So you go through wrestling school, you get your 1st booking, and you come up with the bright idea to act like AJ Styles. How did that work for you?
So,
because this is before me and you met.
Yeah, this was before me and you met. So when I started training and everything else like that, AJ Styles was booming at that time, and I was just like, me and him are about the same height. I could probably do the same thing he does. I was completely wrong. Completely wrong.
I'm not saying you can't, but those are big shoes to fill.
Those are huge shoes to fill. So I'm not willing to say I'm the next AJ Styles because I'm nowhere near it. I have so much more to learn and everything. So I decided to try and hit somebody with a Styles Clash in the middle of a battle royal. And I did They Don't Want None, and I threw my hands up because I had like the gloves, that AJ Styles has per se, but they weren't AJ Styles gloves, but like putting your hands together, they make an image.
Mm-hmm.
I did that, and I was actually eliminated by a referee, Rodney Hunter, in my first ever match of a battle royal. So
you weren't even eliminated by a wrestler.
No, I wasn't.
So I'm glad you brought up ARW, because one thing that ARW is known for is going out and getting, the vets, the bigger names. And I mean, Shannon Moore is a mainstay there. Wes Briscoe is a mainstay. You see guys like Sim Bodie, Gangrel, and the list really goes on and on. So for it to be your first company that gave you an opportunity, and you find yourself in the same locker room as these guys, and you find yourself learning from these guys, how beneficial has that experience been working for ARW to your pro wrestling career, being able to share a locker room and sit under the learning tree of some of the greatest to ever do it?
It's great, to be honest. At first I was very nervous because when I was training, it was always, if you talk to the vets and everything, it makes you a mark and everything else like that. Over the past couple of years, it's changed. But in the first year or so, like I was so scared to talk to them, but like I would talk to guys like Jesse Neo and Shannon Moore, like on the side a little bit away from the other wrestlers, because like I didn't want to be called a mark. And I got so much knowledge from them, like to how to feed with the crowd, how to timing is a huge ordeal with wrestling and everything else like that. Like how much to sell and how much, to let the crowd fully get involved before you go into the next thing. And Vertigo, your last guest, actually helped me out with. Very amazing guy. He actually taught me a very great thing about timing. Like not everything, you can't rush everything because then it looks sloppy and it makes it look terrible. So it definitely helped me out. And one of your main guys, Zach Monstar, is a huge influence on my wrestling as of late. As of training me, helping me get in the right mind state, and like telling me, this is what you should go on with, this is what you shouldn't do, and honestly, Zach's been the guy who's pretty much putting me together as a full-on character. So it's not just me coming up with this character, it's actually Zach's, guidance, giving me thoughts and ideas on how to become a, darker, more healer type, character. And it's starting to get over. So,
I think that's such an awesome pairing of you two. And I mean this with no disrespect whatsoever, so please don't take it that way. But I've told you this before. When I watch you wrestle, you have the talent for it. It's almost like you're debating with yourself who you want to be in that ring. Like you're not you're torn between this kind of person or this kind of person. And I think pairing with Zach is really going to help you do what comes natural.
Yeah, and that's the thing he's definitely been critiquing me on, because I've had the thought of being either I want to try being a face eventually, But right now, my
Never gonna
heel
work.
character,
I could never see Sean Hawley as a face ever, and I mean that with all due respect. Like, I don't mean
yes,
that as a bad thing.
no, it'll hopefully come around. You never know. But he's
Like, you
saying the
don't
heel.
shake hands and kiss babies. You just shake babies.
I just kick babies, to be honest. But as a wrestler, I like it is what it is. But no, like he's helped me get my character going so much, and like the style change and everything, like me becoming what I really am, is a huge thank you to Zach. Like it's huge.
So before we get into, you've recently switched trainers and now you're training full time with Zach, and
Yes.
it definitely shows. Your work is, I'm not going to say gotten better because it's always been good, but you can tell there's something different. You're firing on more, like you're firing on all cylinders now, and it's
Mhm.
amazing to watch. But before we get into that, one other thing about ARW, like we said, they're known for bringing in the big names. Who are some of your favorite opponents that you faced at this point? Not just ARW, but all the way around. Who have you faced so far that, sitting back as a wrestling fan, you never thought you'd get that opportunity?
The only real big name that I've actually wrestled so far is Sin Bodhi, and that was in a triple threat. Well, technically, it was a handicap match if you think about it. It was me, Zach Monstar, and Sin Bodhi in a hardcore match for the number one contender spot for the hardcore title. And like that match felt so smooth, and it just gelled perfectly. And I think it was like by far probably my best match I've ever had.
I actually watched that match on YouTube, and I would definitely agree it's some of your best work, aside from getting your face bashed in with a twisted tea can.
Well, that happened later on, but
Yeah, way later. Um, so, whenever I ask people who are some of their more favorite people that they faced, obviously the next question is, who do you want to face? Who's on your bucket list? Every wrestler has a bucket list of people they want to wrestle. We recently spoke to Raven Havoc, and he gave us his bucket list. Who is Sean Hawley's bucket list of dream opponents?
My bucket list of opponents, is it for all companies or is it just like who I could probably actually wrestle?
If I were to sit down and say, Sean, tell me the top 5 people you want to wrestle, and I'm going to make it happen, who's that list?
Ooh, Darby Allin for sure is going to be number one at that spot. Number two,
Is it because he's the only guy in pro wrestling that's smaller than you?
probably. I think he's actually taller than me, but like weight wise, he's smaller.
So continue.
It would be him. Edge, I would definitely would love to wrestle Edge if I ever had that opportunity. I would take it hands down. Um, MJF, one of the best heels in the business, hands down. That'd be great. I want to wrestle Ryzen, and I'm trying to keep it away from WWE names because like everybody wants to see WWE things. But if anything, I would have to say the Fiend if I had to do a WWE match.
I mean, I'll come to your funeral. Flowers. But no, it's definitely an awesome list. Now, guys, I was gonna save this for the end, but I'm dying to hear it myself. So we're just gonna go and jump full feet into it. Sean, you've had a very rough road into
Yeah.
professional wrestling. It wasn't always easy for you. As a matter of fact, you probably had one of the harder roads into pro wrestling due to a certain attribute of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to get into that. But before I do, ladies and gentlemen, there's been this this kid that I see a lot of myself in, and one day he messaged me and told me that he looked up to me, that he wanted to, become a podcaster. So we've kind of been working together, and him and Sean have a very similar story. So I'm going to bring him on at this time and kind of let you guys talk about it. Sean, I want you to start, kind of give your background, tell your story, and kind of fill everybody in on what I'm talking about. And then this gentleman will also talk. But ladies and gentlemen, coming to the show at this time, Lakota Carter from TikTok. Guys, he has become such a huge fan of the show. He's become one of my good friends. I look at him like a little brother. Sean, he can really learn a lot from hearing your story. So please, all the time you need, uninterrupted, let everybody know what I'm talking about.
So, so with this one, it used to be rough. Like I would never want to talk about it and everything else like that. But I've known Kevin for a little bit of time now. I trust Kevin. Kevin knows exactly what this is. So one of my arms actually is not the same length as the other one. It actually, hold on, let me pull the sleeve down. So if you look at it, my arm actually outgrew the elbow joint. So now my radius outgrew the elbow joint. So it sticks out. So as a kid, I would always get bullied and everything else like that. And, people would make fun of it because like my arm was shorter than this and shorter than that. Like I would get made fun of, because I couldn't reach things, my arm wasn't the same length as the other one. So my reach wasn't as far as everybody else's. Like certain immature jokes were said. I'm not going to say on here and everything else like that. But, after time, like it hurt for a long, long time. But, after getting around a few certain people, I'm not going to mention any names. He knows who he is. That it started to, fade away because I found out that not everyone is going to be the same. Your flaws are what makes you different from everybody else. And the flaws are the perfections of people, because if everybody was the same, it'd be a dull world. Not everybody would, have their own story. So in my case, like, yeah, my arm's shorter than one arm, and it does create a challenge at times, but I can do pretty much everything that anybody else can do. Like I was able to play football in high school. I was able to wrestle in high school and middle school. I'm performing in Florida for wrestling, everything else like that. Like nothing's slowing me down. Like honestly, people can say what they want, but I'm doing what I want to do, and if you want to say I can't do it, guess what? I'm gonna look at you and be like, am I able to cuss on here? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm gonna look at you and go, fuck you. Now I'm gonna do it twice as better than what you thought I was gonna do it. And I'm gonna showcase on it. And as of late, if you follow me in wrestling and everything else like that, you actually see that I'm actually starting to use my arm as a per se weapon or an arsenal in my wrestling game. I'm starting to do like the discus forearm. I'm starting to do elbow strikes and everything. Like now that I'm more comfortable with showing it out, like I've literally for the first time actually pulled my sleeve down during a show and showed that my arm was fucked up. And I'm sure people already realized it because you could see the difference in length. But it's like I actually pulled it down and exposed it, saying, "Fuck you!" Like I'm happy with what I am, and there's no changing my mind. And yeah, I can get it fixed. All I would have to do is technically go to a hospital if they break my arm, and I'd be out for like 6 months. But why change who I am and be like everybody else when I have something unique right here? And it's not no one in the wrestling industry has it that I know of. So it's my own unique touch as a person and as a character.
Now, Lakota has questions for you. But
Mm-hmm.
before he gets into his questions, I just have one more thing to ask you, and this is something that I really want you to hear, Lakota. How long did it take you to take these negative comments and in the bullying and the harassment and use that as fuel to prove people wrong? And how important was it for you to make that transition as far as listening to people to using it as that fuel to say, look, you can say whatever you want, I'm going to prove you wrong? How important is that kind of mentality to have when you go through something like this?
Oh, it's massive to have, because it's a huge weakness point to you. So it's like an easy jab, and as they see, even Garrett knows. Um, Garrett's been on the receiving end of it. Um, but no, you gotta keep it in your mind. Like obviously people are gonna make fun of you. People are gonna say some stupid stuff, and like if you can cancel that out, not give a shit what they say, it makes it so much better on you. Like Zach's taught me how to do this, like drain out what the outside world wants. Like because those are the people that want to, bully you because they don't have what you have. Obviously I'm sure somebody doesn't want to have a fucked up arm, but it's unique. They don't have it, so flaunt it, show it off. It's something creative to you. It's something special that you have that nobody else has. So it took me a while to be comfortable with it, But if I can get somebody who's younger than me, or or at a younger age, to get comfortable with their own selves, then that's what I'm all for. And that's what I want to show to anybody, who wants to join wrestling, who has a disability, that if you do what you can, you know, do it. If let's say you have a messed up hand or a messed up wrist or whatever, if you can, if your mind tells you can do it, you can do it. Like there is no stopping you. You might have to work harder and push through it more than anybody else, but in the long run and at the very end of everything, it's going to happen.
Absolutely agree. And Daniel Smith leaves this comment, says, "I hate bully Sean. Keep up the great work, bro." And I can't agree with that anymore. I've been telling people how inspirational your story is, and you kind of just scratched the surface of
Mhm.
everything that you had to go through, and it was a very long time that you went through this stuff before you're able to really accept yourself. And I commend you for that, and I respect you a lot for that. And to go along with Daniel Smith's comment, here in Wrestling Review Society, we accept everybody. But if you're going to be that bully or that person spreading hate speech or anything like that, there's the fucking door. At the end of the day, there's the fucking door. This place is for
Exactly.
everybody. This place is for wrestling fans to come together and talk about stuff and just be fans. And there's no need for any of the hate speech or anything like that. But Lakota, you've been sitting by patiently, and I know you have questions for Sean. So how about you tell Sean a little bit of your story, if you don't mind, and then go into your questions that you have for him.
So my story is similar to his, but I was born with cerebral palsy. What cerebral palsy is it's a birth defect, really. It's a process during birth, like the doctor messes it up. So, like my nerves and stuff in my arm and my brain, it's basically brain damage. So, the nerves, the best way I can describe it without sounding stupid trying to describe it is like a TV signal. So, like a messed up TV signal. The signal goes through, but it gets jammed up going through. So, my nerves and the nerves that control the arm and the legs don't really work properly. Um, so it causes like my fingers to jam up, and I can't really make a fist with my right hand. But like he said, I've learned to kind of just push the hate out and let it motivate me, because I've been bullied, obviously. So it's important to look at those bullies in the face and say, well, in 10, 15 years, I'm going to be making 10 times the money that you're going to make. And when you made fun of me, I'm going to laugh in your face and say, look where I'm at now.
Exactly.
So, I understand that, Sean, your disability is something that happened later in life. Lakota, you were born with yours, but one of the things that you told me when you reached out to me was that you weren't sure if you'd be able to overcome it. And Sean is living proof that no matter what life throws at you, no matter what obstacle is in your way, if you're hungry enough, if you have the drive for it, if you block out all the hate and you use it as motivation, there's absolutely nothing you cannot do. I'm so glad that you're here. I'm so glad that you're a part of the show now, Lakota. And Sean, thank you so much for sharing your story with everybody.
Of course. Of course.
um, but as far as your disability go, I don't even want to call it a disability, because you've really found a way to use it to your advantage, which is a milestone achievement in its own right. But have you experienced any kind of, like, I guess the only word I can use is segregation, kind of like turn bookings away because of your arm and not having it fixed? Has anybody discriminated against you because of it?
No, no, no one's ever turned me down or anything else like that. Right as of right now, I was actually supposed to be in a lot more shows, but due to 2020, with the scenarios that were going on there, I actually lost a lot, like about 4 or 5 bookings throughout that year. I was going to be wrestling for, hopefully, was going to wrestle for Knockout Pro Wrestling, and I was going to actually go through, a couple companies in Florida, but due to the whole COVID thing, it did knock it out because they did cancel shows. So I've never had anybody say anything about my arm through wrestling, because I don't think a lot of people know about it really, but I don't think they would even care for it. They're more worried about what talent and what you can do inside that ring, rather than what is your the flaw of an arm. Like, if you can wrestle your ass off for a good 30 minutes or so, if you can give these people what they want, then they'll give you the opportunity. That's the thing with wrestling. Like, they don't turn you away due to, like in my case, my arm's messed up and everything, they don't turn you away for that. If you can put asses in seats, they're going to give you an opportunity.
Absolutely, man. And I don't want to turn this into the I don't want to turn this into the Zach show. We've kind of talked about him a lot, but I do have to ask this question because you brought it up.
Mm.
You started training at Wrestling School A. You got cleared to start taking bookings, and then somewhere along the way, you realized that you wanted to get better. That you didn't know everything you thought you knew. You had a hard dose of reality and said, "Look, I have to make some kind of change." What led you to Zach's school in deciding that Zach was going to be the one to train you, and how much influence has that had on your career? Since training with Zach.
So there's some background story of what happened, but I'm not gonna bring up the story because I'm not a person to full on bash any training school or stuff. If you want to see what I mean, then you can look at my Facebook. Unless Kevin wants me to air it out, then I'll definitely air it out. But
Hey, it's your show, man. You can say whatever you want.
all right. So there's a school here in Orlando. It's called Pro Wrestling 2.0. They call their training students A talent. You're supposed to be A talent. So the way I look at it is you're putting a grading scale on your athletes that you have training for you. I didn't know training was either a grade of A talent, B talent, C talent, or F talent, whatever. And it got to me because I started talking to Zach and everything else like that, and I've always wanted to work with Zach. Like a few years ago, Zach had opened up his Real Pro Wrestling Academy, and I went down there once, or I think I've done it twice now. And the feeling you get with Zach, because Zach actually cares about my career and where he wants me to go in my career. So it's a lot different feeling, and I actually can further myself in what I really want to do, rather than having 20 different students, 10 different students there at one time. Some of the kids don't know everything that everybody else does. So it kind of fluctuates the pace on how you can actually perform. And it really got to me because the trainer I was under didn't really care about training you. It was all about, oh, I can have you TV ready in 90 days. Not everybody can be TV ready in 90 days. It's not a thing. And, he doesn't check in on you. Like people, if they really cared about you, they check in on you. Hey man, how you doing? Or how you feeling? He did not care whatsoever. The only time he would message me was at the end of the month so I could quote unquote pay my dues. And it finally opened my eyes because paying dues isn't paying somebody a monthly bill to train somewhere. Paying my dues is going to a show, helping set up the ring, staying late after the show to tear down the ring, shake the hands of the men and women in the locker room, get to know everybody, and I didn't feel that coming from that school. I felt like it was only him wanting a paycheck out of you pretty much every month. And, I got sick and tired of it. And then I spoke with Zach, and Zach was all on board about training me. He's like, hands down, yes, I'll train you without a doubt. And I've taken it to Zach because a lot of people know this. I take Zach as my big brother at this point. Like Zach knows so much about me that a lot of people don't. I trust Zach with so much. Like there's so much stuff I would do for Zach that I wouldn't do for other people. Like Zach has literally filled in as the big brother that I never had, that I really wanted, like this pretty much my entire life. So I've trained with Zach and I have no regrets. And, leaving the school, it's their loss because now Zach's going to get the credit of, if I do pop off into something big, Real Pro Academy and Zach Monstar is the reason I made it to the big leagues.
Absolutely. And I've been down there. I've seen his workout regimen. I've seen what he does with you guys, and it really has that family feel to it, that homegrown
Definitely.
feel, just something special that's going on. And I look forward to, being able to document it and be there and witness it firsthand. Lakota, before I go any further, do you have any questions you want to ask Sean?
I have a one question. What was the hardest thing for you to learn in wrestling school?
The hardest thing. Timing. I'm gonna have to go with timing. Like, because a lot of people will tell you about taking bumps and stuff. It wasn't really that bad for me to start because I played football, so I was constantly getting hit and everything else like that. So taking the bumps wasn't a bad thing. It was just timing of a match, timing when you have to start selling and starting to get yourself going and everything else like that. Keeping that clock, that mental clock in your head of how the match is supposed to be going and everything else like that. Like, and don't get me wrong, like there's been times I forgot like a spot in a match and it's like, oh shit, like where do I go from here? Or like what's next? And like it's happened. Like you could see it on one of my matches in ARW. Like I had a little slip up and I forgot where I was supposed to be. But like I try and make it to where if I do fuck up, it's not an obvious or too obvious fuck up. And it's like you have to actually pinpoint it and be like, that's where he fucked up. But like you can barely see it. But timing is going to be mostly the Lucha Jesus. Oh I'm not even going to get into Lucha Jesus.
One of your former opponents.
Yeah, one of my former opponents that never showed up ever again after he defeated me. He's like on a Michael Cole streak. He won one match and just booked. He went out of town. But to get onto that note, matter of fact, I don't mean to switch it up, but he technically cheated in that match because I was attacked from behind and then he stole the victory. So technically he stole the victory. So we'll wipe the slate clean on that one. But no, back to the timing. It's just having a mental clock in your head and, just, making sure everything that's been slated stays where it's supposed to be.
So you said you've been training professional wrestling and wrestling for 5 years now?
Yeah, going on 5, yeah.
Okay, so I like to ask this question to just about everybody I have because I always get a different answer and it's always some of the best advice I've ever heard. If you right now, Sean Hawley of today, can go back and give Sean Hawley 5 years ago any advice on your road to breaking into the business, just one piece of knowledge that could have really helped you back then that you know now, what would that be?
Look into schools that you were with and actually look into them before actually joining them. But
don't just go to the first one you find.
Yeah, just don't go to the first one that you find and just be like, oh, this is a training school I'm going to. But yeah, no, like other than that, it would be, just prepare yourself for a bumpy road per se, like not everything that you thought when you first started wrestling that it was going to kick off because it doesn't. A lot of people, have to, definitely bust their ass and, work as hard as possible as they can. And, it being in the WWE does not happen overnight. When I first started training, I was just like, oh, I could be in the WWE in the first probably year. I learned that the hard way. Like, no, it does not happen.
Styles.
For one night.
We have a question coming in from the comments section from Daniel Smith. Says, please, can I have a shout out from Sean watching from England in the UK?
What's up, Daniel? Appreciate you watching the show. I appreciate you listening to my journey and how I've overcome things and, part of my wrestling career. And, I appreciate you for watching the show. Thank you, Daniel.
So is wrestling the only sport that you find enjoyment in, or are you a fan of other things outside of wrestling?
Like participate in or like to just watch?
Just something that you enjoy, whether it be participating, watching, anything.
Well, right now, participating, wrestling has 110% of my focus. There is no other sport. To watch would be NFL, NFL, college sports and stuff like that. Like,
who's your team?
For college?
For NFL.
NFL? You know this. That's going to be the problem. I'm a fan of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I can't believe you said it out loud.
I'm not afraid to admit it. Like, screw it, Like, we've had some rough years, It's okay. It's okay.
So, toughest question of the night: why can't the Jags get to a Super Bowl?
Because we play conservative versus the Patriots when we had the game won, and we decided to screw that up. So we could have went in 2017, but we played conservative. We got screwed over.
You know, Sean, I could sit down and we could do this literally all night. Like I said in the beginning, any road through professional wrestling is a challenging road. There are so many people that want to break into the business in just a handful of slots, so it's difficult for anybody. But for you to go through what you went through and still hold your head up and make it through, and like I said, use that as ammunition, use that as fuel to get where you want to be, is nothing short of inspiring. So you have a whole new level of respect in my book, and I thank you so much for making the time to do this.
Of
Um,
course.
Before we wrap things up and get out of here, man, please let everybody know like what your social medias are, where they can find you, follow you, keep up with your career. And then I have one final question for you before we wrap the show up.
You can follow me on Facebook. I know a lot of people don't plug their Facebook, but you can follow me on Facebook
Oh
at
no,
Sean Hawley.
Daniel Smith messages me after every interview and says, "Hey, does this person have Facebook? Where can I follow them?" So please plug your Facebook, your Instagram, your Twitter, your MySpace, your his space, your her space, all of it.
So, so yeah, for Facebook, you can follow me at Sean Hawley. I believe it's a picture with me and my new tag team partner, RJD, with the Booyah Club. And my Instagram, I believe, is Sean Hawley _1 or Sean _Hawley one of the two.
Spelled just like this right here at the bottom.
Just like that. Don't make it SHAWN. Like people always do that. I don't know why. And then on Twitter, I don't know my Twitter handle just yet. Like I just made it like not too long ago, so I'm not full on board with it yet.
Sean, you're so prepared for this interview.
I am so prepared, man.
How am I supposed to plug your stuff if you can't even plug your stuff?
Oh, you just put it in the comments.
Yeah, that's your job.
Hey, I was here to do an interview. I wasn't here to plug Facebook and Instagram. I was just here to give people the story and let them know how I broke into the business. And
Daniel, don't apologize, man. You've done nothing wrong. I enjoy it. I wasn't saying you did anything wrong, man. I enjoy it. I love getting your messages. Thank you for watching the show each and every week. But let's get into the one thing that I've been dying to talk about all night. It's something we kind of hinted at in the beginning. You took a Twisted T-Can spot.
Yeah, I took a Twisted T spot. Yeah.
First question, how did that come up? Second question, why did you take it? And third question, do you regret taking it? Because it was taking social media by storm at the time. You literally took it as that video went viral. And I believe now Real Pro Wrestling is working a sponsorship with Twisted Tea because of that spot. So you taking that spot, Sean, could have drastically changed the projection of Real Pro Wrestling. So once again, how did it come up? Why did you do it? And do you regret doing it?
So it came up after the whole ordeal of the video being viral of the dude getting smacked in the face by a Twisted T-Can. Zach and I talked about it a couple times, and Zach was bringing up the fact he was going to hit somebody with a Twisted T-Can in one of his matches. And come to find out, day of the show, Zach has Twisted T-Cans, and I'm like, I'm taking it. I want to take it. Like, I literally volunteered myself to take it. And I'm like, we didn't know exactly how I was going to do it at first, but we finally figured a way of doing it. And I was, instead of taking it full on like how the guy took it, Zach decided to be a great way to backhand me with a Twisted Tea after he took a small sip out of it. So luckily I didn't take a full closed Twisted Tea, but nonetheless, I still took
your jaw.
Probably because he hit me pretty damn hard. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. He did rock me a little bit with that damn backhand with the Twisted Tea.
Before you finish your answer, I just want to take the chance to say thank you, Jeff. I really do appreciate that. I don't know if you've seen at the beginning of the show, but we are now the two-time award-winning podcast for Podcast of the Year and Interview of the Year, and it's because of people like you. Thank you so much, and thank you to everybody who voted for this show for Podcast of the Year. Daniel Smith says, would I be able to add Sean and Lakota on Facebook, please? I'm sure they wouldn't mind.
Definitely.
But back to the original three. So you answered the how. You kind of answered the why as well. Do you regret taking that spot?
Absolutely not. Like it technically made history, so I can't say I am against it at all. I'm actually, it was a time I could have with Zach in the ring. Like I've always wanted to wrestle Zach, and I still want my one-on-one match with Zach. hopefully it eventually happens. But no, I do not regret taking the Twisted Tea. It actually it sparked it sparked the wrestling world pretty big. So
Putting you on the spot, that match with Zach, are you willing to make it a death match?
That's what I was getting ready to say.
everybody asked me this. Yes, I am definitely willing to go one-on-one with Zach Monstar in a death match, either in Real Pro, Atomic Revolutionary Wrestling, GCW, anywhere they want to book it. I'm totally down for me versus Zach Monstar in a death match. Hell, No Peace Underground. If you hear this, let's do it.
Guys, we have video evidence where he said he will do a death match. I'm gonna make this happen. I'm kind of friends with the owner of Real Pro, and we're gonna book this. Sean, you just signed your own death warrant. I'll be pulling for you. I'll say some nice words at your funeral. But this has been the War Room with Sean Hawley. Thank you everybody who's been watching. Thank you everybody who's been commenting. We're definitely gonna have to do this again because, like I said, guys, we've barely scratched the surface on who Sean is and his road through or his road into pro wrestling. So we're definitely going to sit down and do this again. And hell, we might even have Zach on and have another Bud Heavy Zach Monstar showdown, but this time with Sean and Zach. You guys really seem to like that kind of stuff. So who knows? Maybe. But Sean, I definitely go ahead.
Brothers do fight, right? So why not have a big brother versus little brother death match? It's money in the making. Let's make it happen.
Mom, lock up the China. The boys are at it again. But Sean, I want to thank you so much for making the time to do this. Like we said in the beginning, we've been talking about doing this for such a long time. I want to thank Lakota for being here and sharing both their amazing stories. And Lakota, like I said, we've talked about your story in more detail than what you went on with the show. And I knew there was going to be something of value that you can take from this, which is why I asked you to be here. And Sean is definitely somebody that you should look up to because he's went through the same thing you're going through and he survived it and he's made a good road out of it. So definitely somebody to look up to, definitely a role model for you. And I thank you for being here as well. Guys, we will be live next Thursday, 7 p.m. with another pro wrestling interview. They come every week. The War Room, Thursday, 7 p.m. Thank you, everybody who watched. Thank you, everybody who watched on Twitch on our road to become Twitch affiliates. From myself, from Lakota, from Sean, thank you so much for watching. Please go follow Sean on all forms of social media, Facebook, Instagram. Let him know Kevin sent you. Hell, take a screenshot of it, tag him in it. Let him know you guys came from Wrestling Review Society. With that being said, guys, thank you so much, and we'll see you next week, Thursday at 7 p.m., live in the War Room. Oh, wrong one.